Hello, Wolfpack. We're back, and we're continuing our top 5 lists. But this one's actually a top 10 list, as you can tell by the title. We're going to do a special list again. This is the top 10 video games based on films and other media. Other media includes TV shows, books, and, all the rest of things that a video game can be based on. Now, for this list in particular, we are looking for specific requirements to count. First off, the game has to have characters actually from what other media is coming in, and it has to be about them, and even if there are original characters in this, they have to interact with the characters, but it can't focus entirely on a different story not related at all to the original story it's based off of. So sorry, Walking Dead is out, and Alien Isolation is out. So now that we set the rules, let's begin this list. Number 10. The Simpsons Hit and Run. Yes, wouldn't you know, we found another Simpsons game that's actually good. The Simpsons Hit and Run is basically a parody of the hit series Grand Theft Auto, with you playing as a Simpson character exploring Springfield, jacking cars, and committing crimes to earn score points. Now, this is an odd example because it does have its own original story outside of making fun of Grand Theft Auto, but the story comes in very much later in the game. Basically, in short, the story is aliens want to invade us, so they send in evil wasp machine things that are supposed to kill you, but of course you get to kill them. But it is fun because it is very faithful to The Simpsons, having parody and an original story that makes no sense. You can play as any of the Simpson family, except for Maggie because she can't drive, and a few of the civilians in the Simpsons show, and basically you go around jacking cars and doing specific missions to earn higher points. Why, I don't know, but that's part of the game, and it's making fun of Grand Theft Auto, in short, until it becomes its own original thing. But yeah, The Simpsons Hit and Run is a pretty fun game because they do have most of all the famous Springfield landmarks. The show constantly changes, of course, but it had a lot of things that are there, like the school, the Simpsons house, the neighborhood, and you get to find out where each and every Simpson character lives. Not all of them, of course, because the show did have negative continuity, but The Simpsons Hit and Run is a very faithful adaptation to the cartoon and has a lot of the joy and humor it has. Number 9. Dante's Inferno. Yes, get this, a game that's actually based off of a poem. Dante's Inferno, if you don't know, was a book about a guy named Dante who traveled through hell and limbo and all the afterlife in order to reach heaven, to be reunited with his lover Beatrice. Dante's Inferno is a spectacularly fun hack-and-slash game. I regret not putting it on the list, but that's because it wasn't as huge as God of War. One of the cons is that Dante's Inferno is often compared to God of War, but I think Dante's Inferno is much better. Yes, if their mission was to spread Christianity through an awesome video game, well, mission accomplished. This game is a lot of fun to have, and Dante's Inferno is for the most part faithful to the story, except if you read the poem, you could tell Dante did not go around killing lots of enemies in hell, which is why they had to make it for the game in order to have the fun, of course. And I guess you can complain that there are two things wrong with the game. One is that Beatrice, who was an important female in the book, is now downgraded to damsel in distress, and Dante, of course, has to save her. And, however, I do believe that they did make up for this, because they do have a DLC where you can play as a female character, who is actually more powerful than Dante, and is pretty awesome in her own right. So that kind of balances things out. But the second complaint is the devil. The devil, I won't lie, is not that scary. He comes off as more of like that braggart who shows off his power and such, and you just want to beat him up to teach him a lesson. Not exactly the best interpretation of the Prince of Darkness, but he is a challenging final boss since I know a lot of people haven't beaten him yet. But Dante's Inferno, for the most part, is referencing a lot of the source material. It's loose, but it's strong enough to hold out as its own video game. Dante's Inferno is one of the best hack-and-slash games I've ever played, and one of the best video games ever based off of a poem. Number 8. Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. Yes, we chose 3 in specific because that's one everyone praises, but I guess you could count the whole Budokai series because they are all pretty fun, but 3 gets like the most praise from everyone. Basically, Dragon Ball Budokai 3 follows Dragon Ball Z Kai's main story on all the arcs. There are 3 to 4 story arcs that we follow in here. We fight Vegeta, Frieza, the androids in Cell, and the Buu saga. There is a versus mode and a campaign, so you have double the fun there. And it has a roster of 20 to 30 characters. One thing that does get a lot of praise is the action in the game, which is your standard 2-person fighting game, but they do add a beam struggle, which makes things more intense, and the battle animations that come after your victories. There are lots of alternate costumes in the game that you can unlock through progress, and of course hidden characters like Broly, Oob, and Super Saiyan 4. The cons, well, some of the stories are short, and if you're a Gohan fan, he gets way too much praise, and he gets his campaign shortened to 3 different versions of himself. But a lot of my friends say that Dragon Ball Z, the Budokai games, are the greatest, and judging by their opinion, it seems number 3 got the most praise out of all of them, but I do recommend the entire trilogy. Dragon Ball Z is an awesome anime, and it deserves an awesome game, and this one is definitely deserving to be on the list of good video games adapted from it. Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm Revolution. Say that title 5 times fast. Yeah, the Naruto game, this one I see as like the most recent one, and everybody loves this one. While you can argue that it's not as good at adapting the story, it does pull in a lot of things that we didn't see from the anime. Like, we do get to see how the Akatsuki form, we do get to see the pre-stages of Danzo's evil plan, and we do get to see a little more of Obito's origin, and some foreshadowing about his final battle with Naruto. Naruto Shippuden, like, it does take the story of Mecha Naruto, too, as an added bonus, and it definitely makes a lot of references to the show. It is a very fun fighting game, and it's above Dragon Ball Z mostly because it could go up to 4 players who can fight online, while Dragon Ball Z is stuck with 2, which is kind of sad, because Dragon Ball Z does deserve a lot more, but Naruto is a lot more funner because I like their battle animations a lot more because their moves get so many awesome effects and they get a scene from the anime as their victory quote. Yes, Naruto Shippuden, well, I can argue, again, like the Dragon Ball Z games, all the games in the series could be counted as fun, but this is the most recent one that a lot of people seem to love the most. Number 6, The Wolf Among Us. Yes, this one is actually based off of a comic book. Not many people know the comic. It's called Fables. Basically, it's about all the fairy tale creatures from Mother Goose and Grimm's Tales and other people who made fairy tales, and how their lives have changed now that they moved into the real world because there was some kind of assault on the fairy tale world, forcing them to immigrate to our world. Basically, you play as the main character, Bigby Wolf, aka the Big Bad Wolf, who has now taken on a human form and is the sheriff of the fictional Fable Town, which is apparently located in New York. Strange that the fairy tale creatures considered New York the best city to move into. But whatever, that makes it all the more intense and fun. Bigby Wolf is basically solving a mystery because there's a crime going around and fables are getting murdered, which is hard to believe because fables are almost immortal, but someone has the power to kill them. And basically, it's a 5-episode arc about Bigby finding out who the villain is and why they are killing other fairy tale creatures. It's actually an odd version. It's a prequel to the Fables comics, meaning that you don't have to know the series to get into this, which is very good and attracts new fans since it introduces you to the basic concepts of their world. Wolf Among Us is a lot funner, and it's mostly above the others because it has a better story compared to the rest, while the ones under it didn't have much focus on their story and more on the fighting concept. While Wolf Among Us does have decent action, it's all quick-time events, but it deserves more praise for being a prequel to one of the most awesome comic series I've ever seen. Wolf Among Us definitely deserves to be in this place. Number 5, South Park, The Stick of Truth. Yes, South Park actually got its game on here too. As you all know, South Park is basically a political cartoon that loves to criticize our society. You would think it wouldn't have strong enough material to be on its own best critically acclaimed game, since it doesn't help that a lot of South Park's earlier games weren't that good. But South Park The Stick of Truth finally got them a great game that is fun to play. Basically, it's an RPG where you get to play as different medieval classes and play castle-style battles. You can either choose Cartman or Kyle's faction. I recommend watching our gameplay of it by our channel owner, Wolf, which is pretty fun. Basically, it fits the South Park universe to a T. You enter their crazy world, and you do get to explore the whole town. Unlike the Simpsons game, where you can only explore certain sections of the town, South Park lets you explore the whole town and even into Canada. Basically, you go on one of the wacky adventures and know what it feels like to be a South Park character. Basically, the battle is for the Stick of Truth, a stick that can control the universe. And it's as silly as it sounds, but pretty interesting and definitely deserving to be high up on the list. Number 4. This one's actually kind of a tie between American McGee's Alice and Alice Madness Returns. It was hard to choose between these games, especially because the first one isn't usually around on the mainstream consoles anymore, while Madness Returns did get a huge console release, so we decided to count both. Basically, as you can tell, the games are a dark version of Alice in Wonderland. I do not recommend this video game or character for kids because it is very dark and very disturbing, which is why I kind of like it. It's basically a darker version of the beloved children's tale, and it tells that Alice is mentally psychotic and Wonderland is an entire hallucination that's in her mind and not really there. Basically, it follows Alice going through Wonderland and coming to grips with her sanity and fighting off the dark representations of her personality, like the Jabberwocky, the Queen of Hearts, and of course, the mysterious Corruptor, the doll maker in the second game, Madness Returns. I really hope that they do go through with a third game because this is getting interesting. But it's pretty much more or less an alternate character interpretation of the beloved Alice and her Wonderland friends, and boy does it work out. This is some of the best story and best action I've ever seen. If I had to complain though, Madness Returns was kind of rushed in the end, but it still came out pretty decent actually. But the first game, a lot of people praise it, but I do have problems because it is a platform jumper, and if you fall, you die and have to wait for loading screens until you come back. But that's just me and my sucky gaming. But both deserve to be on this list because they are the best versions of Alice in Wonderland I have ever seen. And that is a small wonder. Number 3. Ghostbusters, the video game. The good one. The Ghostbusters, the video game, basically follows our 4 heroes from the Ghostbuster movies and what they're doing after the second movie, Ghostbusters 2. We follow Peter Venkman, Egon, Ray, and Winston, who have recruited your character, the new character. Sadly, a con to this game is that no, you cannot customize your own Ghostbuster, and you cannot customize the new character, the rookie, who never even gets a name. And it's kind of sad that the rookie wasn't a female option either, because they never referred to the rookie's gender that much, which was very open for all gamers. However, it is a pretty fun game nonetheless. Basically, your character, the rookie, works side by side with the Ghostbusters, and as you expect, busts ghosts. There is a villain in the game, and it follows your standard take over the world plot, but it's more fun for the action and being a Ghostbuster. The story is not as good as some of the other ones. I think even Dragon Ball Z might outshine the story, but it's fun because it falls in nostalgia and references the Ghostbusters, and it's pretty much the video game that a lot of Ghostbusters fans really wanted to see. It is a spectacular game, and I do recommend going on multiplayer too. I go on multiplayer on my Xbox a lot. However, sad news, PlayStation owners, the multiplayer for Ghostbusters is down. I know, it's sad. For some reason, Atari thought, let's shut down the multiplayer on PlayStation, but Xbox, you still get to have it. Oh, and PC gamers, there's no multiplayer at all installed. It was never an option to begin with, so sorry about that. But Ghostbusters, basically, you and the four guys are fighting another evil ghost who wants to take over the villain and possessing people. And you actually do get to go into the ghost dimension in this game, which is something that was never touched upon in the classic films, and sadly touched upon in the new one, but didn't go as far as you wanted to. But Ghostbusters the video game is very much the spiritually, Dan Aykroyd calls it, the third movie of the series. And it does kind of show. It's interesting, it's funny, and it is amazing to bust ghosts, especially if you go on multiplayer and bust them with your friends. I would recommend buying this game, especially now while it's cheap, because Ghostbusters is a classic, and this game is very much a classic. Number 2. Transformers Fall of Cybertron. Yes, this is an amazing game. Transformers Fall of Cybertron definitely outshines its first game, War for Cybertron. I will give War for Cybertron an honorable mention now because that is a fun game too in its own right, but Fall of Cybertron definitely raised the bar. Basically, the story is very simple, but it's much fun because of the gameplay mechanics. You're shooting enemies, fighting Decepticons, and seeing different versions of your favorite characters fighting in a sector in the war. Fall of Cybertron follows the basic plot of the Autobots and Decepticons are continuing their war while secretly racing to build a spaceship so they can escape their dying homeworld. The Decepticons are very far behind and need a ship, so they're basically attacking the Autobots to screw them over, while the Autobots are more or less progressing more and making sure to get as many as their soldiers out of there before it's too late. And you get to play as all the beloved characters, Optimus, Megatron, Soundwave, Starscream, Bumblebee, and a few others, to name a few. Like Ghostbusters, the multiplayer in this is very fun. It goes up to a lot of players, and a lot of people are online playing multiplayer right now, which surprises me. But Transformers Fall of Cybertron is very faithful, more or less, to the Generation 1 cartoon, where it is showing you how they ended up on top of Earth and their struggle to get there. Yes, they do reference going to Earth a lot, and the series pretty much ends basically where most Transformers series begin, with them leaving through a portal, and then the portal opens to our solar system, and that's how they land there. Basically a prequel to every Transformers series ever made. Transformers Fall of Cybertron is one of the best video games ever, and definitely a good adaptation of the Transformers franchise as a whole. Perhaps there's more to it than meets the eye. And finally, we reach our number 1 on this list, Batman Arkham Asylum. Yes, I know, this one stands out as the most, mostly because Batman Arkham Asylum more or less was based off of every Batman lore ever made. While Arkham City, while it is a good game, I consider it where the Arkham series became its own thing, and definitely its own series, which isn't a bad thing, of course, but that kind of marks that the Asylum and that the Arkham series was going to higher places. Arkham Asylum is more or less based mostly on the cartoon and a little of Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Batman Arkham Asylum, basically, it follows the plot of Batman bringing the Joker back to Arkham Asylum, and big shock, the Joker escapes and starts a riot. However, strangely, the Joker doesn't leave Arkham Island yet, and instead planning something big, and he wants to keep Batman there. So basically, it's the standard Batman fights the Joker plot, but you get to explore the prison and encounter lots of Batman villains and lore. Batman Arkham Asylum was actually so good that it made the Guinness Book of World Records for being the best superhero game ever made and sold over millions of copies. Arkham Asylum is definitely a fun game. I would recommend it, but it is a one-person game, so you can't multiplayer on it, while Arkham Origins is the only game with multiplayer. But yeah, Batman Arkham Asylum is the best video game based off of Batman. It's definitely more or less Batman for adults, because I don't lie, if you're a kid, you might be scarred for life, because Joker does his standard murdering people, and a lot of Batman villains actually get in on the murder and do gross stuff. But yeah, Arkham Asylum is pretty good if you're a hardcore Batman fan. Definitely a fun game, and definitely good at exploring all the Batman mythos. I think it's deserving of first place on our list. Here are some honorable mentions that you might have wanted to see but didn't quite make it in. God of War. Yes, this one was kind of a hard one to place because I know like God of War is mostly based on the Greek and Roman myths, and a lot of people might have wanted to see it on this list, but I don't think that people knew Greek enough to get into it. But God of War is one of the greatest hack and slash games ever played, and definitely does explore the dark side of the gods. And Back to the Future, the game. This is also an amazing game, but Telltale fans would say Wolf Among Us is a lot higher than it, especially because Wolf Among Us introduces you to a new world that's based off of a lesser-known comic. Back to the Future follows the movie series and takes place after Part 3, and a lot of people do consider it spiritually the fourth movie in the series. Back to the Future is a pretty fun game, and I am considering showing it here on the channel as a playthrough, so I hope you're interested in that. But since it wasn't good enough to make this list, I have it as an honorable mention, because I did enjoy it quite a lot. We thank you for watching. We hope you like, comment, and subscribe, and tune in next time for more videos here on Wolf and Friends Gaming. Goodbye.
I am evil Homer. I am evil Homer. I am evil Homer. I am evil Homer. There's something you don't see every day.